If you don't plan your success, you plan your fall. Today on Growing Hope, we take another step into our balanced life by focusing on making the unique plan for our designed success.
It's time for Growing Hope, the show determined to grow up hearts open to pursue the extraordinary. Because you are extraordinary! And now, live from a little cabin in the woods, nestled along Big Spring Creek, it's your host, Kathryn Lang.
Hello and welcome to Growing Hope, where we are finding our unique way to live in purpose and on purpose. I am Kathryn Lang, your purveyor of snarky rainbows, just going around tossing a bit of twisted encouragement as I go. And I try to make a point of always knowing where I'm going, instead of just wandering around aimlessly. At least I try to make that point now. I used to wander aimlessly. I can remember on more than one occasions when we would just get in the car, we'd pile in, and we would drive without a destination in mind. And sometimes we would even let the passengers just randomly pick directions. You know, you come to an intersection and someone would shout out left or right. And we would just go. We would just see where it took us. We would find new places, see new things. We would just have adventures. I like a good adventure now and then, but I want to have an end point in mind as well, especially now that I'm focused on finding my purpose and living my purpose. So I try to know where I'm going, even if that means setting a plan every day, or sometimes setting a plan hour by hour. Now, I don't always know the details. I usually don't know the details of where I'm going, but at least I know where I'm going. So knowing the destination makes the difference for how I allocate my resources. My husband and I were heading out to a writing conference a while back, and it was a beautiful day. We were all excited about being able to go off together. And I had been to this conference many times. I knew where we were going. I knew how to get there. I knew the best stops along the way. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on the way you choose to see things. But just an hour into our trip, we encountered standing traffic. And for the record, standing traffic on an interstate that normally has no traffic is not a good sign about where you're going. So we decided, and by we I mean me, to veer from the normal path. I could tell on the map that there was a minor highway that was going to take us in the same city at least. And I thought it would be interesting to give it a go. At least we know where we're going, I added. And we did know where we were going. It's just that the new path took about twice as long as it would have if we had been on the interstate. And had we been in a different situation, it would probably have stressed me out. If we had had a deadline, or if the event would have been starting, then I would probably have been stressed. But we had all day. We didn't have to be at the event until the next day. We were traveling a day ahead. We didn't want to have to stress out about getting checked into the hotel and all that, so we went the day before. So instead of stressing about the time we were wasting, we enjoyed the scenery and the extra time to talk to each other. Because the highway we were on went through peaks and valleys, and that meant no radio reception. So once again, depending on your perception of things, it was a good thing or a bad thing. But a plan does provide the destination and even an outline for the journey so that you can have the important elements in place. Without a plan, you're just driving around. With a plan, even though there may be detours, at least you know where you're going. So the 5 basic elements for building your plan include evaluating your start, defining your finish, learning from others, daring the big dreams, and setting actionable steps. If you're going to get to where you want to go, then you have to know where you want to go. If you're going to pursue big dreams, then you have to take the time to dream them. You have to allow yourself to create, to formulate, to to feed these big dreams so that you can pursue them. You are uniquely designed on purpose and for a purpose. But it's real easy to get caught up in what other people tell us we have to do or how we have to go. And we lose our uniqueness. When you take the time to set your plan, then you formulate that plan around your uniqueness. It's not about the other people, it's about you, so that you know where you're going and you know why you're going. There is a time for just going, and there is a time for knowing. When it comes to taking steps into your purpose, then you have to know. You can't just go. You have to know where you're going. If you have to know why, and you definitely have to know where. I launched Growing Hope in 2013. And at the time, I was doing the show live every Monday morning for an hour. It was a huge challenge. It was just me, usually me talking to myself, although that's not something unusual. But at the time, I was homeschooling the boys, all three of them, and I wanted to make sure that I aired the show at a time when others could watch, but I also wanted to be on the air when the house wasn't stirring, if you know what I mean. Boys can be kind of noisy. So things were going well. I had a pattern happening, and then I was approached about syndicating the show on a radio station. We just need you to, they told me. The changes that they requested didn't really change my direction, and in truth, they helped me be more defined in my process. But the more I worked with the producer, the more I began to adjust my actions to his plan. The problem wasn't that I was changing my actions. We need to learn and we need to grow and we need to change. Change is always going to be a part of the learning and growing process. But the problem was that I no longer had a clue of where I was going. Some days I didn't have a clue of what I was doing. I was just getting up and recording the show, and I was getting it done. And that also caused burnout because the passion that I had when I started it kind of faltered when I began to follow his path. That same year, a friend challenged me to set a focus word for the entire upcoming year. And her challenge was the beginning of the whiteboard of world domination system. Because walking through the focus process helped me define where I was going. So then I was positioned to get it done. I made my adjustments and I took my first step. And then I took another step. And then another group of theys showed up and explained to me how I needed to be doing it. And I listened and I followed because they knew, right? They had gone and they had done. It is important to listen to others. This is one of the ways we grow and change. But the key is knowing how to make what we learn from those others fit into our unique path instead of trying to fit us into their design. We can't follow someone else to our success. I tried. I got tired. I quit. It was about the same time that my computer crashed, taking all of my well-designed programming elements that they had helped me come up with and sucking them into the netherworld. I don't have a clue where they are. But side note, back up your content. Back it up often. Back it up completely, because those incremental backups that you can choose, even though they save you space, they're not nearly as helpful for recovering your information as you think they will be, especially when you delete the old ones. I'm just saying. But the lesson was learned, and now I have the backups, and I began to rebuild my process. At this time, I took what the others had told me. I did some more research. I learned some more. I grew some more. And then I molded it into my own direction. I thought about where I was and where I wanted to go. And I made a new plan. And Growing Hope Daily was launched. Do you know where you're going? If you don't know where you're going, then you not only can never get there, but you can't even recognize a distraction when it shows up. I mean, how do you know you're being distracted from somewhere when you don't even know where you're going? When you're just going along aimlessly, every turn is just another turn. You have no idea if it's moving you towards your desired destination or if it's moving you away from it. You can't know because you haven't taken the time to define that destination for yourself to begin with. When my children were younger, I had to take them with me everywhere. I had to make a plan for my errands in town so that I knew how to adjust for each of their needs. To some extent, I still have to do that. Or maybe it's because it's a leftover habit from when I had to take the kids with me. But still, I approach the errands much like I would a grocery store. I know where everything is, and I write down all of my errands based on each of those locations. And then I put them with a time limit. I know how much time I'm supposed to spend at each one. It not only helps me make the most of my time, but it helps me save in gas. And my plan would include a time limit, always. Because if you've ever run errands with small children, you know there is a time limit. Because either you have to plan around their nap time if you're not going to be getting out of the car, or you have to make sure you're back before nap time. Whether you want to have a time limit or not, there is a time limit. And so when I would run my errands, I would run them until I ran out of time or I ran out of errands, whichever happened first. So my starting point was my house, always. My finish point was the time or the bottom of the list. And I always hoped that it would be the bottom of the list, but it rarely was. So I would make another plan for another day. But every plan needs a start and every plan needs a finish. If you don't have either of those, then you don't have a plan. You might have a list, you might have an idea, you might have a destination. You might even have a dream, but you don't have a plan. And you need a plan. If you're going to get to where you want to go, you have to know where you want to go. It's that simple. You can't get there if you don't know where you go. And once you know where you want to go, you need a plan that will get you there. There are far too many squirrels running around trying to distract you and often succeeding, at least in my case. If you don't have a plan, how are you going to stay on track? If you don't have a plan that's guiding you in purpose and on purpose, how do you know if you're out of purpose? A plan isn't to restrict you and to hold you into a limited space. A plan is to funnel your time, energy, resources into the most powerful you that you can be. You need a plan that works for you. You need a plan specifically designed for you, and you need a plan that you create. You can take someone else's plan and adjust it. You can watch someone else in their plan and modify it, but it has to be uniquely yours. I was talking with someone just today about how we struggle in our journey and what we're trying to do. And too often it's because we're trying to do it someone else's way. They said it worked. It worked for them. I saw the proof. But they aren't me. And they aren't where I am. And if they're not me and they aren't where I am, then how can I expect their results to be my results? And yet I do. Time and time again, I find myself choosing to do what they did because it worked for them. But we have to find our own way. And that puts all of the responsibility on us. And that's the way it's supposed to. It's supposed to be on us because we're the only ones that can make the choice. And we're the only ones that can take the step. You are the only person that can hold you back, and you're the only person that can get you there. But you can get there. You can live bold in purpose. You just have to be ready. Once you're ready, you can make a plan that will work for you. If you aren't ready, then what you end up with is that someone else's plan. And sometimes that someone else's plan can be worse than no plan. When I was a little girl, I was probably about 2 years old, my mom decided I needed a canopy bed. She had always wanted a canopy bed, and she thought it would be the perfect addition for her little girl. My dad brought it to my room to put it together, and I was thrilled. I couldn't wait. I agreed it was the perfect addition to my room until my dad almost got it finished. See, I wasn't a girly girl. I would wear dresses. I would dress up with the best of them, but if I had my choice, I'd be outside in the creek with the guys. I played sports. When I got older, I even had a horse. But even when I was younger, frills and lace just weren't my thing. They were just not as cool to me as mud and trees. Maybe that was part of my mother's plan. That if she could give me the girly stuff, then I would fit into the girly mode. But it didn't help. If anything, it made things worse. See, when my dad finished putting the bed together, I asked when I could get on my monkey bars. You can imagine my enthusiasm about it when I found out it was for show and not play. I never did sleep in that bed. And my mom never did give up trying to fit me into her box. But I was blessed to have mentors who encouraged me to make my own way. And despite having a few setbacks here and there, I am still finding my own way a little bit at a time. And the little bits are making such a difference. Taking little bits is empowering me, emboldening me to keep going, to try something different, to move a little closer. And I want to help you find your way. You have a uniqueness that nobody else can copy. You have a path that nobody else can plan. You have a purpose that nobody else can live. I dare you to become the unique and extraordinary you that you're designed to be. Connect with me on Growing Hope Radio Facebook page or email me at contact@growinghoperadio.com and share your thoughts on this process of living in purpose and on purpose. Now, if you want to schedule a 30-minute free consultation with me, visit coachforfocus.com. And if you've missed out on any of these Balanced Life episodes of Growing Hope Daily, please catch up. Visit growinghoperadio.com where you can watch or listen to all the past episodes. I know that you can do this. With the right encouragement and the infusion of possibility thinking, you can fly. With the encouragement and hope and fuel of dreaming, you can live your impossibilities. You turn those impossibilities into possibilities because you're told you can. Growing up, we were never allowed to say, I can't. We were always told that you can if. So we had to find our way to can. We had to discover a path to can, even when it was a hard path, or even when it was outside of our comfort zone. We did not have the choice to say can't. And that is one of the gifts that I had, because from such an early age, I was taught to dare to imagine that I can. I'm daring you to imagine that. Whatever it is that's right there on the edge that you know you want to do, that you've dreamed of doing, you've thought about doing, start meditating on it. Start imagining. Start believing. Start stirring that pot, because you can. No matter what anybody else has told you, and no matter where you're starting, you can. As you begin to walk through this process of making your plan, just remember that with the right plan, knowing where you're starting and knowing where you're ending, you can get there. I am Kathryn Lang, and I'm here to tell you that hope makes a difference, because every day holds a promise of more, and every action contains the power of possibility. It's not about what the world says. It's not about what the world shows. The strength of hope and encouragement will and does push past the limits and the walls of the world. My prayer is, and my prayer will always be, that the words I share with you are helping establish a foundation of hope that will shatter the delusions of the world around us. Until next time, remember, be blessed and be a blessing.
Thank you for joining us for Growing Hope with Kathryn Lang, where we are sharing hope, encouragement, and inspiration to do more.
Visit www.kathrynlang.com to invite Kathryn to be part of your event or to share your own stories of possibility living.
Until next time, remember that a seed of hope planted and nurtured will grow up into a world of possibilities.